Hi, this is Deepak. So, good morning. How are you? I am still in California, ready to go for a tour to Northern California and then to Las Vegas. And I thought I would answer today's question early in the morning because I have a lot going on during the day. By the way, this app that you're seeing, it came on unintentionally, so there must be a significance to it. Essentially, somebody is trying to gobble up the ignorance of the world right there. So let's Cylinder Burns, thank you for sharing my video, this conversation. So let me try and answer today's question. People are sending in questions after reading You Are the Universe, Discovering Your Cosmic Self and Why It Matters. The answers are posted on discoveringyourcosmicself.com, and I hope we will continue to expand in this consciousness and this conversation, and hopefully all of us will benefit. Okay, so today's question is, it's from Ana San Juan, and her question is, how do we become an instrument of consciousness? The context of my question is the following. We know that humans are extensions of consciousness. We are that, and that we are consciousness. And humans are aware of being aware, and we have choice in our thoughts and actions. By being aware of qualia, our thoughts, images, feelings, we can be intentional about embracing or reframing our qualia, and thus be actively creating our world. When we are tuned in, we can source directly from consciousness. We can ask consciousness, what would you like me to do, to be? How may I serve today? And if we listen, we will hear a clear answer. So I have been playing with this in my daily life, tuning into source awareness and taking leads from it. I'm curious what the authors and You Are the Universe forum members, YATU members, would advise are the tools for becoming and deepening our ability to be instruments of consciousness. So thank you for the question, and the question also that is asked by Ana San Juan. She has also answered the questions as she has asked them. From one level, from a relative level, she has answered the question. So many people are saying that this alien on the screen is distracting them. Maybe I'll move a little bit. How about this? If I move a little bit, that'll help. I don't know how the alien came on, but I think it's some app that accidentally got switched on, but there's always a deeper meaning. And for me, the deeper meaning is that the alien is our own self, our own conditioned self. That alien is you unless you know yourself. So most people don't know themselves, and they are aliens, strangers to themselves. Now going back to Anna's question, which I would like to address, is who's asking this question, Anna? And from a relative point of view, Anna is asking the question. And who is Anna? Anna is a conditioned self, a conditioned ego. And therefore, when she says, how can we become an instrument of consciousness? Then a particular instrument of consciousness is asking the question. A particular instrument of consciousness is asking the question. If you want to answer this question from the relative point of view, then we can say yoga is the way. Raj Yoga, which includes all the limbs of yoga, which are yama, niyama, pratyahara, pranayam, yogasana, dhyan, dharana, samadhi. So from the relative point of view, you can become an instrument of consciousness by doing yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga, but add to that bhakti yoga, which includes chanting, devotion, love, Gyan yoga, what is also referred to as the yoga of the intellect, and karma yoga, yoga in action. Actually, your question is basically about yoga in action. How can we do that? And you're combining that with Raj Yoga and all the other yogas. So that's a very good way to approach these questions from a relative point of view. But from an absolute point of view, these questions do not need to crop up or do not need answers at the level of thought. So what is the absolute point of view? Absolute point of view is that you are not an instrument of awareness, you are awareness itself. And awareness as such has all existence embraced in it. And at the same time, awareness as such is being or consciousness. And at a deeper level, you're not the instrument of consciousness, you're consciousness itself. And being consciousness itself, there is a knowing element, of all experience. That knowing element is inherent in awareness. That knowing element is inherent in awareness because by definition, awareness can only be aware through knowing. And in that knowing is what we call spontaneous right action. In that knowing is spontaneous right behavior, spontaneous right thinking, spontaneous right feeling, and spontaneous right action. There is no question the right response, and by right I mean the evolutionary response, not right in a moral, self-righteous way. So the evolutionary response to every situation occurs just in being. No questions, no need for answers. Just flow. And I have talked about this many, many times. So from the absolute point of view, there is no question, there is no answer, there is just being, and the most evolutionary response to every situation as it happens in the deep now. That's the clearest answer for your question from both the relative point of view and the absolute point of view. So here are some tips on that. You know, every situation, every circumstance. Number one, every situation, every circumstance, every event, every relationship, every encounter, every question that you have is a projection of your conditioned self. Number one. Number two, the conditioned self is also what we call the ego, the fragmented self, the separate self. And the separate self is a learned phenomenon. Of course, it's also influenced by what we call sanskaras, past experiences of the separate self. going back to childhood, intrauterine life, and possibly other lifetimes of the separate self. But in the deeper reality, the separate self does not exist because it's in time, and anything that's in time is a momentary phenomenon. It's a blink in the eye of eternity, a moment in the unbounded domain of the timeless. So it is a hallucination. Always know that. Number 3, the real you, that which is awareness, is never born and not subject to death. And therefore, the real you is just awareness, witnessing awareness. Ask yourself simply, does awareness ever go away? You know, when we wake up in the morning from a deep sleep and we say, that was a beautiful sleep, that was so peaceful, that was so wonderful, you're referring to an experience. So the experience of peace and deep rest is also an experience in awareness. Awareness never goes away. It is the light of awareness in which every experience is born and dies. So when you ground yourself in awareness, you experience your timeless being, then you also realize that you're not subject to birth and death. And so in that timeless being, you're not the instrument, you are the source of all instruments. And you slowly begin to detach from the instrument that you think you are, the particular body-mind. And as you do that, then you do not use the fragmented mind to ask these questions or to look for these answers. But if you're not ready for that, then the fragmented mind is your only instrument, because you are the instrument, to go beyond the fragmented mind. I hope this makes sense. But if you are grounded in being, then, as I said, there's effortless spontaneity and flow, and these questions neither arise nor they need answering, because they don't exist. You're not an instrument anymore. You're the awareness that is all instruments, and doing that, you spontaneously use the instrument selectively, knowing full well that you're not the instrument. Which leads us to the final point here, that you have to begin to recognize yourself as a formless being. That that which cannot be seen, but without which there is no seeing. That which cannot be perceived, thought of, imagined, but without which there is no perception, thought, or imagination. At that level, there is also the conquest of all fear and the birth of a deep love, which is always in the deep now. And that love is the ultimate healer, because that love is the truth at the heart of all creation. Focused on none, denied to none, but healing to all. So I hope this answers your question. And Dream reads, it sounds like faith. Faith in the invisible, without which there would be no visible. I wouldn't even say faith in the invisible. The certainty of the invisible, without which there would be no visible. Okay, so thank you very much for today. Thank you for sharing this video. Thank you for the beautiful messages you're sending. Thank you for all the hearts that are coming my way. And all back to you. Alex says, I think he's a hack. Yes, I'm a consciousness hack. That's for sure. Rina Maria says, incense? No need for incense. No need for accoutrements. Awareness just is. Thank you. Have a great day. Be well. And I'll speak to you tomorrow, I hope. Lots of love.